The universe, and challenge even your own imagination? You don't think we're alone, do you? When you hear that the government is doing something, you always believe it, don't you? We are your third eye. This is Chasing Prophecy. Challenging your beliefs and pushing the boundaries of your imagination. If it's unexplained, we're talking about it. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, we cover everything from political mayhem and tyranny to alien abductions and paranormal phenomena. You are not alone. This is the Chasing Prophecy radio program. And now your hosts, Jenny Nicasio and Sean Kelly.
FM 105.3 and 107.7 in New Orleans and Henderson Point. I'm Jenny Nicasio along with my fabulous co-host, Sean Kelly.
Hello, everybody. Good evening,
How are
Jenny.
you? Good evening. I'm so glad to be here tonight.
Oh, me too.
Well, we have Tom Reed is going to be a little bit late. He was supposed to be on it last week. Remember, he was busy. And Tom Reed is the president and creator. Let me make sure I said this right because I don't mess it up because he sent me his information. The UFOXPO. And he also had .com, and he also had a big conference in Roswell, New Mexico. And he's going to try to be here a little bit later on the show, but we do have a really good guest. He's going to be coming soon, I hope. Let me see. I have his picture up here. He is the winner of the People's Choice Documentary Award. And I just want to make sure I said that right, too, because he sent it to me late. So I couldn't put it up on my little Proctor thingamajigger that I always have, but let me make sure. He is
Proctor,
the winner.
Yeah, what is a Proctor? Sounds like a
it's
doctor.
sort of what Joe Biden uses when he's like dazes off into space.
Oh,
okay. If he dazes off into space if he doesn't have his Proctor.
Before we go on with the show until our guest comes on, I have a question to ask you. The other day I saw something where is there actually two Joe Bidens?
Oh, yeah, he's a clone.
Is he a clone?
Oh, yeah, he's a clone.
Because one time he looks like that dude on Jeff Dunham, Walter.
Either that, he has a double. I mean, you remember back when Hillary was running for president and she'd fallen outside. Do you remember that where she fell?
Yeah, I do.
Well, yeah, and all of a sudden she was all perky the next hour or so. That was definitely not her.
Oh wow! So they do clone them. I mean, I know my son.
I don't know if he's a clone. I'm just saying that. I mean, he probably is a clone. But I tell you what, they could have found a better clone. I think. I don't know.
The dude looks like Walter.
It's probably a double.
A double?
I'm surmising. Yeah, double.
Okay. I was just wondering because I know my son at Ohio State, or no, I'm sorry, out in Indiana, PA University, they used to clone fish. So that would be crazy.
Well, yeah, they know how to clone. They've been doing it for years. You just don't, it's not ethical to do it, but they do it anyways.
No, all you need is a DNA. That's it.
I mean, I'm really a clone.
Oh, are you really? I had a picture in my mind right now of you.
Well, can't you tell that I have multiple personalities too? Okay.
Yeah.
Before I want to make sure I end up this, there was a big UFO, like I said, convention. So no, what do you want to call it? The UFOXPO. And that was in Roswell. All the big wigs were there in the UFO field. We've had them all on the show. We've had Mike Barra. We had what's oh my god, I'm having a brain freak. Bennett. Come on, Sean. We just had him on the show.
Ben, I know who you're talking about.
There he is. Right there, the guy in the cowboy hat.
Yeah, he's fun. I like him. He's
Bennett.
Look at them chairs are sitting.
I know. There's Mike on the right.
Daryl Sims.
Was Daryl Sims? That's right.
Thank you.
Why do I call him Bennett? Who the heck? There must be another Bennett. Who's Bennett? Who's on here?
I hear his name all the time on our shows from different people.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we haven't got him on yet.
Yeah, there was a lot of them there. I'm surprised Joe wasn't there. I guess he wasn't. Maybe he'll be invited.
I hope so. Joe deserves to be there.
Joe's a bad boy.
Were you kicked out?
They kick you out, Joe.
No, I just want more than they're willing to pay. That's all. But anyway.
Oh, okay. Those are big chairs. Yeah, and here he is. This is our guest. He'll be on. I don't know where he's at. I sent him a link, but I will send it again. Michael Mazzei. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a philosopher, musician, researcher, and he won the 2023 People's Choice Award for Best Documentary, and it was Within, So Without.
Oh, really? I mean, it would have been nice if we could have found this out a little earlier. I could have watched that documentary. Could I not?
I don't know. You probably had paid for it. I'll be honest with you. I've never heard of it. We have a lot of different pictures that he sent me, so I'm not really sure where he's at. Well, he didn't send it. Tom did, and I wanted Tom to be on the show. And he's having a little issue over there, and he's going to tell us all about his issue in New Mexico with this show. Let me see. Where is some?
Would you go to one of them, Jenny, if you had the money?
Oh yeah, I would go. It has nothing to do with the money, but do I want to go?
Yeah. Do you want to go?
No, I maybe someday, not now. But it was like a big show, and it seems like there was a lot of people from Ancient Aliens on there. And I contacted a number of the people that were there to be on the show. So I hope I see them all.
Just think when we started off, was it 3.5, almost 4 years ago?
Yeah.
On that one. And we
Beacon of Light. Was that what it was?
Beacon of Light. And look how we progressed through the years, man. I mean, literally, top of the line people.
Oh yeah.
People who are really huge in their field.
In the field.
Yeah. Paranormal and UFOs and aliens. You know what we haven't talked a lot about though is cryptids. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what, Sean? I think we've talked about them all the time. I mean, I even had a lot of people tell me we need to talk about other stuff because we talk about the same things all the time. And we talked about Dogman, Skinwalker Ranch. We've talked about oh my God, Bigfoot, all of them. We've talked about a lot of them. I mean, you think we haven't? I mean, do you think? I think we talk about them almost every show.
Well, yeah.
Then again, what do I?
You know a lot of things. You're the boss.
You're used to. Lady. I have. I don't know if it's my age or what, but I keep getting brain freezes. I'm not sure what's going on.
I'm telling you right now, it's your age because I forget. I'm lucky I remember what was said yesterday or what happened yesterday. And when you say, "Oh, Sean, you remember a couple years back when we had that one guy? What was his name on our show?"
I don't remember anybody's name.
I don't either.
It's horrible. I don't know what's going on, but I want to know where he's at because he was supposed to be here quarter after, and we're already 24 after. So I wonder where he's at. Wonder if they gave me the wrong email, but I'm going to forward that.
Okay, so how was your birthday party?
It was wonderful.
Was it?
I probably gained 5 pounds. I ate too much.
I mean,
we had barbecue, we had brisket, pulled pork, pizza. cake. And then it seems like everybody knows I'm on a diet and I get all this candy. It's like, what? Why do you do that to people? That's so rude.
Yeah, my mom's the same way. I
I
mean,
don't
there's
get it.
when she had her stomach stapled, you know. I mean, it was the old times when
Hmm.
they first started that, and there's only certain things that she can eat.
She had
And
her stomach staple. Oh, jeez.
long time ago, back when my
Oh,
father died, 87. Yeah, but
wow.
it's that was the old way, which was pretty like hardcore because nowadays they're flexible. I do believe, you
I
know.
no, I wouldn't. I'm too scared to do anything like that.
Mhm.
I'm too much of a wussy. Uh,
No, you're not.
I couldn't do anything like it. I don't even want to take that new diet pill, the one that Jason was on as Zempic and Monjaro and
Ozempic, yeah,
Wegovy, all them, they're losing weight. But I just read on the news or read in the newspaper and on the news that they're causing all kind of health issues for people taking this drug.
yes,
Not
yes.
only are they getting like bowel obstructions and like all kind of sicknesses like pancreatitis. I'm too scared to do that.
Well, and that's okay. Like now, my brother takes it once a week, and
He
he's
does that
fine.
injection.
Yeah, and he's fine. He has to every Sunday night.
Does he have
Um,
diabetes?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you have to take it, but for this quick fix weight loss thing.
No, that's.
But
But you know what? It's funny because there was a lot of someone just had a baby. She's an actress, and all her friends are telling her to take this Ozempic in order for her to lose weight.
mm,
And she didn't take it though,
she
thank
didn't.
goodness. But I wouldn't trust it. But I will tell you this: you always, you know, pound on my head about taking vitamins. Well,
Yeah.
well, check this out. So, I am uh, diabetic. Not that bad. Not that bad yet. I don't want to get that bad. But my doctor prescribed to me vitamin D, and it's just like a rejuvenation of everything. So I take, what is it, 5 little pills of vitamin D a day,
Hmm.
and my blood sugar medicine, and this vitamin D has really changed.
Oh yeah.
I have a lot more energy, a lot more energy at work. I mean, I take it when I wake up, and
Hmm.
I mean, I'm just on the go, and I just love it. It's like, and I sleep really good at night with this vitamin D bit,
Well,
you
that's
know.
good.
Yeah, so it's like she said something like, "Isn't it something for the sun that since we live in Pittsburgh that
Yeah,
we
you
don't
need
get
a.
sun?"
Hmm.
Yeah. How about the snow this morning, huh?
Yeah, that was stupid.
Oh my God. Right now it's 27 degrees, and 3 days ago it was up in the what, 50s, 60s?
Yeah,
What
it
is up with
was.
this weather?
I don't know. It's not cool. But getting back to the expo, the UFOX. There's a couple people that I tried to get on the show, and they're going to be calling Melissa Tittle. I think that's how you say her name, Tittl Till. I might be
Okay.
spelling it wrong. And then there's Carolyn Corey. I don't know if you ever heard of any of these bigwigs.
No, no, no.
Doug Saxman.
Never heard of them.
These are all big UFO people. Kim Carlsberg. So
Hey, Michael, good day to you too.
I contacted them, and there was Steve Bassett. Well, we had Mike Bear on like twice. Was it twice or 3 times? I can't
Three
remember.
times.
But while we wait for him to chime in, I'm hopefully there's so many top things in the news. The FDA has also have 2 more eye drops. I don't know if you people heard about the eye drops
Nope.
that were recalled because of an eye infection. These people are going blind over this, and I use eye drops all the time. And
Hmm.
because I have Sjogren's disease, I don't know if anybody knows what that is. That's a dry. Your body attacks its own tissue, and it attacks my glands. So that is something to really. I mean, there seems like there's so many contaminated products out there that we have to be cautious of.
Now, is there a certain company that makes that? Is it one of the ones that came out with the shot?
Oh, no, 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 no. This is the there's like a different, there's all these brand names. It's Pharma Medica. I never even heard of them before, but they apparently they make eye drops. They're not actually saying, which is kind of scary. They're not actually saying which, like, is it sustain? They're not actually coming out. They're just giving the pharmaceutical companies like OPX. They're not coming out with the name of it, which I think is ridiculous. I mean, they should tell
Well,
people what they
if
are.
if I was in your situation and being on the show, I would have to research the company where the eye drops came from. You would
Mhm.
have a choice from your doctor now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you do. You have definitely have to. I mean, you're gonna have, like, I checked out mine and they said that was fine. So,
Okay.
but when you're getting back to vitamin D, there's so many benefits of vitamin D. I mean, not only is it support your immune system, but your nerves. And I know me with an autoimmune disease, my doctor told me to take at least 40,000
Wow.
IUs, which is a lot.
Are they pills or what?
They're little gel tablets, but it's a lot of people have deficiencies in it, and it really affects your cardiovascular system and also migraines. If you get migraines, they say take vitamin D.
Okay.
So that's good to hear.
I
And
mean, yeah, I was all pumped up for this
that's
vitamin
good.
D. Now, Thursday, I have, when I went to the VA, honest to God, they were so great. I went and saw this doctor, and I have all these tests set up, and I took these tests and x rays. And now, Thursday, and I don't mind telling the world what's happening with me. I have, I'm seeing a doctor. They took x rays of my shoulders and my wrist. And
Hmm.
so I'm seeing some type of doctor for that. And my hearing test this Thursday. I mean, back to back. Jen, I walked in, talked to this doctor first time in like a half hour. Okay. I got blood test work done and I had x rays done in a
Hmm.
half hour. And I'm
Hmm.
thinking, and I'm not knocking any doctors out there that's listening to me, but I have never ever gotten results that, I mean, being able to take those tests that quick. And it, I remember a long time ago when I got out of the Navy in '85, going to the VA, it wasn't a happy place to go to. They really didn't treat the veterans that good out there.
Yeah.
And from what my mom was telling me, that a lot of the veterans, big veterans, got together and say, "Hey, you got to take good care of the veterans. You got to," and it's wow, boom, 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 boom.
That's
So
good.
oh, I'm happy as a jaybird.
I bet. That's good
Hmm.
that you did you hear about the ghosts or apparition caught on camera on the highway in Arizona? It was on all over the news. Did you guys hear about it? Anybody in the
Uh,
chat? Well, we're
I
gonna
haven't.
play it while we wait for our guest.
Okay.
Um, so we can let me make sure he's not in the I can't make sure he's not in the green room because
Yeah.
I have a lot of windows open. I don't see him. I think Joe's out there too. He would catch him. I'm gonna go ahead and play that. Let me make sure I have it. I'm gonna close all my other tabs, make sure because sometimes StreamYards is hard to get. And of course, my computer is not letting me close. It's not letting me close anything today. I don't know what's going on. I
Uh,
wonder why my computer's
my
not. Oh,
cousin, my cousin said the truck driver dash cam ghost. Is that what it is?
yeah, that's it. I just had it here and I got an advertisement pulled up on my screen. Yeah, let me get back to it.
Hey,
Need that.
welcome to the show, Brian. It's good to see you again. That's my cousin, Michael Anthony. He's my cousin. I mean, this is like so cool that we're getting all, you know, return people listening to our show. Um, well, while we're having a little bit of time, wait, thanks, bud. A little bit of time here waiting for that video to come up. My show tonight on Into the Night with Sean Kelly on 105.3 New Orleans. Um, we're going to talk about the Irish since St. Patty's Day is coming up. And everybody, you go out and you get all happy, drink green beer, and all make fools out of yourself. But the Irish, when they came over to America, um, they weren't treated right. So I will explain a lot more on my show if tune into the night with Sean Kelly on 105.3 New Orleans. It'll be an interesting show.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it will be. I could get the stupid thing up. Oh God!
And I also found out too that back in like a long, long, long time ago, that the Irish were sold into slavery. Yes,
They were. Why?
Because the kings over in Britain didn't like the Irish, and they figured they can, so they would sell them. How they dealt with the Irish slaves over there is they bartered. Oh, here we go. Here it comes. Let me see this bad boy.
We started, but is that it? What was that? Is that it?
I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
That was it. It was fast. I think it already passed. There it is. See it on to the right?
Oh, that thing. Ah.
It could be just a glare.
Could be.
But it could be. It could be something.
Absolutely.
Right? It could be. Definitely.
I know a lot of paranormal teams that got in apparitions walking down the road and stuff like that. So it could be, but it was too small. It was like a small dude.
Well,
hi
Sebastian. Yeah,
hi,
it
Sebastian.
could be. It's small because it's on this little screen. I mean, but if you're driving in your car,
well, it wasn't a
probably
truck,
wasn't,
too.
Or a truck, whatever. I don't know.
It's hard to say. I would really want to. Was there any people saying that it wasn't?
Oh yeah, they could have said it could have been anything. There's a lot of people thought it was somebody that was passed on, but it could be. So I was going to do a show tomorrow, but I'm not going to. On the collapse of the banks in Silicon Valley, I wanted to find out what you can do to prevent it. If you have large amounts of money, should you be scared? And I was going to have someone come in from Edward Jones onto the show to talk about that, because I think we should all know if you have money and how safe are the banks. So that's something big. That's scary that it happened.
Right. But I had I saw something the other day about that, and the guy explained, I forget what it was, but if you have $250,000 or less in the bank, you are covered. Okay.
Yeah, because I think they're only insured for 200. Was it 250,000?
That's it. 250,000 and more, then that's something that you have to worry about. But isn't that scary? And you also found out, I saw in the news, that before the FDIC took them over, man, they all gave themselves freaking more money, like a going away present type of money. I mean,
it's a lot of money to what was it? Who was it that Roku? They lost a lot of money. I think they deposited like $1 billion or something.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are selling their stocks on the bank 48 hours before they shut it down. That is criminal, right? Stuff like that you go to jail for, like Martha Stewart did. And it's did you guys hear about the Pentagon, about the Russian airline that collided with a U.S. drone? Did anybody hear about that?
No, never did.
It was on just 4 hours ago. It was on the news. It's pretty scary. Like Russia, they get away with murder. They can do whatever they want, it seems. That's them in China. Those little balloons that were supposed to be UFOs.
That was a big cover up for over in East Palestine, hon.
Yeah, I
I
know.
believe that completely. But think about it. I'm going to talk about the weather a little bit here in Pittsburgh, right? 3 or 4 days ago, it was like in 80, 70 degrees and it was warm. And all of a sudden, it's freaking 27 degrees with a lot of snow. We have another snowstorm coming. So, is it possible? Is it possible that that machine that makes the
The
weather
HARP,
changes, like, yeah,
A
the heart,
HARR, yeah. Yeah. I think they use it all the time, especially when someone's running for office, like a president. There's usually a tsunami, earthquake, hurricane,
and there's also
and
a lot of
they
chemtrails too.
they distract us.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
chemtrails too. And I
Well,
found out through my friend Michael, he sent me some stuff. The chemtrails actually um, make people more relaxed,
okay.
so there's no uprisings and stuff like that.
Well, I'm not really relaxed
Oh,
lately.
wow. Sebastian says we are having snowstorms in Britain. Holy crap.
I'm gonna see where our guest is because this is la 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 la. It makes me
I
mad
know
when
I
they.
saw a picture of them out in California, and there's a lot of snow out there. What they get, about 12 foot of snow? Anybody out there who's listening or watching the show, could you please tell me how many feet of snow California got? Um, I guess it's up around Oregon in that area. I don't know if the whole state of California got any, but I know we got some snow here. And what's crazy about it, I was looking at the radar and in my weather channel on my app, and it was just like all clears, 40s, 50s, 40s, 30s, 50s, and boom, out of nowhere, there's this freaking snowstorm coming in from Canada over to Lake Erie. And I'm thinking, what the hell? How did that happen so fast? And on my app, my weather app, it's like I get a 10-day forecast, and not one, not one thing of snow. And talking about East Palestine, we did discuss this last week on our show or the week before. Um, Again, we were having good weather, and all of a sudden that crap happened over in East Palestine. And for like 2, 3 days in a row, we had major windstorms. It was crazy. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not getting, I'm not going conspiracy theory here, but I'm just saying it's awful weird with this weather change. So if
It's
anybody
possible.
out, if
It's
anybody
possible.
out there's, have their own Michael, Sebastian, Brian, do you have any ideas what could be happening?
Well, definitely it's something, but they already what was it? Oregon? Which state was it? Or was it Tennessee or which one? Oklahoma? That said that they couldn't take their dirt out, the
I didn't hear
contaminated
nothing
dirt.
about that.
Yeah, they were talking about the dirt.
But see, now check it out. Now you hear about no more derailments. You hear, you know what I mean? It's just like it just feels like something was swept under the rug. Like you don't hear it on the news anymore.
Oh no,
But
you hear it all. I've been hearing about it lately. I mean, there's one after the other.
the ones down in Texas
There,
and
Texas. There was one in oh geez, where was it?
Springfield, Ohio.
Was it Springfield, Ohio?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, what did you mean by don't get too upset with China and Russia? If you can share with us, I'd appreciate it. And any luck with our guest?
He emailed me. He said he was coming on, and I said to him, I said, "Are you sure you're not thinking it's Central Time?"
It could be. Remember, we had that problem before.
Yeah. So I just made sure I told him again. This is the second time I told him it was Eastern Time. So
Sebastian, what's going on over in Britain beside the snow? Any UFO sightings? Anything like that? As Sean said, it was warm here also. Northwest England. it also happened in other parts. So is this so-called HARP really that big? Is it really that powerful to where it can make weather change all over the place? I don't know.
Apparently, it can. They're blaming. There was an earthquake in February. They were blaming it on HARP in Turkey.
Oh, really? I
Mhm.
didn't know they were blaming it on.
They were
What?
conspiracy theorists. Were blaming it on. Conspiracy theorists believe that the U.S. weather weapon caused the Turkey earthquakes. Yeah.
And
They-
nowhere else in Turkey besides Turkey got hit with it, right?
for Turkey and Syria. Well, they said, well, this particular the HARP program, which is I didn't know it was based in Alaska.
It is.
Yeah, it's based
Oh,
in
they could do
Alaska.
damage on freaking Russia, though.
It was
You know what I mean?
constructed in 1990 and is now operated by the University of Alaska Fairbanks. Well, I don't understand. Why are they even playing with it? I mean, what is it for, like a weapon, a bioweapon? No, it wouldn't be bio because it's not bio, it's not
No.
chemicals. So it's a high frequency transmitter.
All right, y'all made me come in here now. Y'all driving me crazy.
Oh, go
HARP
ahead.
is in Alaska. HARP punches holes in the
Oh.
ionosphere. That's what it does. It has big, powerful lasers that punches holes through our ionosphere and sends crazy beams flying all over the place. Sometimes it'll reflect it off a satellite and punch it down to Pine Gap, which is in Australia, which is the Joint British Defense of Outer Space.
Mm-hmm.
Pine Gap, Australia. But they'll send them back and forth to each other. God knows what they're doing, punching holes.
Yeah.
Through
Like, why are they doing that? Is it just for?
Well, it can change the weather. I've never heard about it causing an earthquake before, but it can change the weather because it's punching these holes in and out. And you notice you never hear the climate changes tell you that the holes in the atmosphere, the ozone layer is repaired. It's almost completely repaired. One side is repaired, and the other side's got two little small holes left. Nothing like what it was a long time ago. You know what? They should have left them alone, and then all that greenhouse gas could have escaped out of them.
Yeah.
Global warming now.
Well, they said that it caused that. A lot of people thought it caused that earthquake, that one in Katrina.
I don't know how it caused an earthquake, though. I mean, I can understand how it could change weather.
I mean, yeah, not an earthquake. I mean, a hurricane.
Oh, it could probably cause a hurricane. I mean, there's superheat in the atmosphere with these lasers, and then it punches a hole through. In the beginning, they were said the first report. I had a friend of mine used to work up there. He's back at the Pentagon now, but he quick story. He's a good friend of mine. He used to try to hack NASA to find out about the UFOs. He used to do it all the time. Well, he got caught. After about 10 years, they caught him. And they offered him 10 years in jail or a job. So he was at the Pentagon for about a year, and then they sent him up to Pine Gap for a while. He used to send me all kind of stuff. I mean, up to the HARP facility for a while. So they had a good idea of what was going on there. He said he was a security specialist to keep him from getting hacked, is what he was. He said they were doing all kind of weird stuff. He said they would change the colors of the aurora borealis at night when they would start working.
That would be neat.
They said sometimes they would get in this deep purple, this deep red, or this deep blue colors he had never seen naturally before. He said obviously the lasers were having some effect on all of that. So if it's affecting that, it's affecting the upper atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then he said about 5 years later is when they started bouncing them back to Earth. I think before they were just punching holes all over, seeing what they could do. And then all of a sudden they started shooting them back to Earth. Now, what Pine Gap does with them, or what they do with that stored energy, or where they send it, or what they do with it, I have no idea. Some people say they send it back to the HARP facility, and the transmitting back and forth creates waves in our upper atmosphere that can cause a jet stream to move and stuff like that. When I read up on weather conditions, I guess it is possible to work that way. Because when you find out how a jet stream works, if they were affecting the upper atmosphere, it could move the jet stream around, which also determines where hurricanes go. If the jet stream is low, it pushes them away from us. If the jet stream's high, it sucks them up to us.
That would affect the airplanes. Is that why it's possible that that one company had a hard time with their flights?
Well, I know it can affect navigation to an extent, but I don't know. And anything that would screw up navigation, they would instantly come down. Have you ever? I always love this. I always tell people go get Airport Monitor for their computer. when you look at how many airplanes are physically flying around the USA, it's ridiculous. I mean, in some parts of the country, you can't even see ground underneath them. It's like where you live and all that upper East Coast up there. Oh my God, it's just like one massive airplane up there, nonstop dots everywhere. And then you can see these streamings across the country, these 5 layers where they're streaming back and forth and stopping in Denver or stopping here, stopping there. And then when you get out west again, it's just like an entire just flight of airplanes. It's ridiculous how many planes are in there. And they talk about polluting the atmosphere. Shit, ground the planes and we'll probably save 100 years on our atmosphere. I mean, it's crazy. And that's just here. That's not Europe or Asia or anywhere else. That's just here. When you expand it to the global thing and you look at how many planes, believe it or not, there's some weird places though you don't see any planes at all. But for the most part, when you look between Europe and the United States and Asia, there has to be 10,000, 15,000 planes in the air. It's insane. Wow. And they're all heating up the atmosphere. And they're all, around 30,000 feet, 32,000, 35,000. So they're heating up the atmosphere. And then you've got some laser jumping back and forth. God only knows what we're doing to it.
Yeah.
God only knows how it's going to affect us in the future. But,
well,
though, you can go see the HARP facility because they have I forgot the name of them. They have the bike races up there in the snow. It's like the version, their version of the dog races in Alaska.
Iditarods.
Yeah, so this is the motorcycle version of it, and they race right there by the HARP facility. I've seen crazy pictures, and they're nuts. That's all I can tell you.
Who thought of the HARP? Who thought of HARP?
Well, HARP, Pine Gap, and Star Wars all were instituted by the same man. There was this guy who got on TV one night and said, do you know what happened if an alien invasion came to planet Earth? It would unite the whole planet. Okay, he said this 7 times on television. While he was saying this, he instituted Pine Gap, which is the Joint British Defense of Outer Space. Outer space means anything really beyond our solar system or beyond our moon. 2, he instituted Pine Gap. He instituted Star Wars laser systems. The Star Wars lasers that we had seen that they were building, they were shooting these superheated discs into space the size of my house. These were not designed to shoot down missiles. These were designed to shoot down something much, much, much larger. I have no idea what it was, but these were huge lasers. We'd seen them a few times. They even had a couple of videos made of them. You probably can still find them. They were just way too big. They could shoot down like 10 missiles at a time or something, or sweep across half of Moscow or something like that. These things were designed to shoot something bigger down. And then here you got the HARP facility also doing the same thing. All 3 of these facilities have the ability to shoot at things, but more so they have the ability to run imaging and radar in deep space. They're expecting something. They're waiting for something. That's why all of a sudden our Pentagon, everybody's talking about it. They know something's on the way. They now know probably some of the stuff from Reagan was released, but they don't tell presidents. They don't tell Joe Biden. They didn't tell him anything. They didn't tell Obama. The only reason Baby Bush found out is because his daddy knew. Because he's Baby Bush. So Reagan was president for 8 years. They told Reagan for some reason or another, mainly because I think Daddy Bush told Reagan, said, "Hey, look, we got this going on. They're not going to really tell you, but I'm going to tell you because I was in charge of the CIA, and now I'm your VP." And then he turns around as president for 4 years, and he's over there in Iraq looking for something, which everybody says it's a Stargate. I have no idea what it was, but they were looking for something other than trying to oil. This was not over oil. This was over something much different. And they were looking for it, and then they couldn't find it. So then Baby Bush went and started the same war. Whatever it is, they were looking for something. Some people said they were looking for things in the museums and stuff like that. But people on the ground over there said they were looking at historic areas, places that hadn't been open in a long time, places where you would find stuff that not like weapons or stuff like that. These were very strange things that they were looking for. But I heard a bloop. So I'm going to shut up and let your guest come in now.
Yeah, I think my guest came in.
I'll bring him. Let me drop my.
Okay. Hi there, Michael. Welcome to Chasing Prophecy. Buddy. I'm glad we got that straightened out with the time. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No worries. Everybody's playing telephone.
Yeah. Well, tell me, how was your week? Was it a week that you were in Roswell?
I actually was not in Roswell. My co-host for my other podcast that I do, the Roswell UFO Symposium, they were out there, Toby and Shane. Toby is a reporter at the Roswell Daily Record. And Shane is a producer on my other podcast, and like I said, he's the co-host. But they were out there. We premiered our new documentary, which is called "As Within, So Without: From UFOs to DMT." And yeah, we won an award.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Can I jump in for a second? And I'll get
sure.
everybody else here. So you in Roswell recently, right? So this wasn't the regular Roswell one they do in July. Who sponsored it? I'm just curious.
So this one was run by Tom Reed. Shout out to Tom Reed. I appreciate him allowing us to air our
Yeah, he's a good
documentary there. And yeah, he ran it. And yeah, the one in July is run by Toby, or the Roswell Daily Record. And that one's going to be a film festival. That runs from the end of June to July 2nd, I believe. So
Yeah, because I've spoken to one down there a few times for Roswell on the 60th anniversary, but things got a little weird down there for a while. So that's why I was asking you who did this. I was just curious. But anyway, I'll get out of here. I'm going back to producing. I'll talk to you later.
You're good.
Yeah, well, Tom was going to be on the show. He was had some little issues, and he said he might pop in later on, but he said he had somebody that could help out tonight. So I'm so glad that we got a hold of you.
Yes.
So
Thank you.
tell me about your documentary.
So let's see here. We have been doing our podcast, Mind Escape, my cousin Maurice, who we are both the filmmakers. We've been doing our podcast, Mind Escape, for about 5 years. And the intention after initially doing that was to eventually start making documentaries. And then lo and behold, the pandemic hit and we weren't really able to go anywhere. Actually, oddly enough, the first documentary we're going to make was on near-death experiences. And then we pivoted because I had a buddy in the UFO community, Chris Wolford, who had some experiences that he wanted to share. And it just kind of came together. And I had my own ideas about the phenomenon. And I believe it's pretty much connected to our consciousness. So, a lot of stuff you see out there is very material based or nuts and bolts, people say. I have a different take on it from like a philosophy standpoint, which is that I think everything's consciousness based. Everything we measure, experience, everything we take in through our senses, it's all consciousness based. So if we're interacting with some other intelligence or entity, it has to be consciousness based by that, that argument.
That's a good argument. No. What, I know you explained a little bit how you wanted the documentary, but what actually got you to start making this tour? And do you have this documentary?
Yeah, so
are you planning to have any more coming up?
Yeah, so we do plan on continuing to make documentaries. I don't know if we'll specifically be focusing on just UFOs. We might venture out to, the podcast to do Mind Escape. It's a philosophy podcast dedicated to exploring the mysteries of life. So I've always been fascinated the UFO, UAP phenomenon. That has always had my attention, and I consider it part of the bigger picture. So we talk about everything. We talk about psychedelics. We talk about philosophy of mind and metaphysics and, a lot of ancient stuff. I mean, we started our podcast going down the road of megalithic structures, ancient sites, that kind of stuff. And then slowly I just realized that all this stuff comes back to consciousness. So, so I just started focusing on the mind, philosophy of mind, consciousness, and, the documentaries is the idea of the documentaries to present a different idea. As within, so without is actually the second part of what most people know is as above, so below. So the saying goes as above, so below. And the second part's as within, so without. And as within, so without is symbolic of the UFO experience or the abduction experience, in the sense that it all comes back to the mind, whether it's external or connected somehow through, like I said, consciousness. That's kind of where we were going with that. And the DMT part of it, if people don't know what DMT is, it's dimethyltryptamine. It's the most powerful psychoactive compound we know of. it's produced in our bodies and in our brains. And people can also use it exogenously, as in smoking it, or that kind of a thing.
Well,
And
how do they
taking
make it if it's in your body? Is it like they make this
yeah,
in a lab?
yeah, you can synthesize it. It's also in what people know as ayahuasca. So ayahuasca
Oh,
is
ayahuasca's for depression or mood.
ayahuasca is part of ayahuasca. It's a brew. So in South America, a lot of the Amazonian tribes for the last couple thousand years, what they do is they take one vine, which has the MAO inhibitor, the MAOI, which disables a enzyme in your gut, which allows the DMT from another plant. So they use two different vines. One disables an enzyme in your gut, and the other one activates this thing. So yeah, DMT can also be synthesized in labs. It can be extracted from the Sonoran desert toad or the Colorado River toad, Bufo alivarius. It's the glands excrete the stuff called 5-MeO DMT, and then people dry it out and then smoke it. Again, I'm not advocating anybody do any of this. I'm just putting this out there. This is something I know a lot about. So DMT is produced in our body. So for me, DMT has been, in the documentary, we have Dr. Andrew Gallimore, who wrote this book called Alien Information Theory that connects this molecule to the possibility of making connections. Because when people do ayahuasca or smoke DMT, there's a lot of trip reports or data that shows a lot of people either came in contact with intelligent entities or crafts or different things that they can't explain, other realms and dimensions,
while they were taking this.
Like I said, it's like the most powerful psychedelic. So it's not like even eating psilocybin or mushrooms where you're still part of this reality, but a little bit out there. Like you're fully blast off into an alternate dimension pretty much. So ayahuasca, DMT. So the thing I came across was DMT is connected to, it's been postulated that it's connected to dreaming. And that's why maybe we have it in our brains, because it's connected to how we dream. Dr. Rick Strassman, who actually Dr. Rick Strassman is the catalyst for a lot of this, because in the 1990s, he did a 5-year test at the University of New Mexico where they intravenously injected patients with it. They were willing, they wanted to do it. And these people had spiritual experiences, transcended experiences, things where they felt like it was zero time or the center of the universe and all these super metaphysical experiences. So he dubbed it the spirit molecule, which he wrote the book DMT, the Spirit Molecule, which is pretty popular out there. But my whole thing was, is this somehow related to UFO experiences? Because when there's been some work on this, I don't know if you know who Terence McKenna is, but Terence McKenna wrote this book called True Hallucinations, where him and his brother went down to Colombia and had a couple UFO experiences that he felt like there was something to this, some sort of connection between the psychedelic realm and these visions that we have. So there's been suggestions that maybe what people experience when they see something is some sort of endogenous or internal release of DMT, or possibly some sort of interaction between that molecule and us and whatever that thing is out there. So it's just another way of trying to look at a possible mechanism in which these interactions occur.
Oh yeah. When you're taking something like this, how do you know that it's just not the substance that are making you see this? I mean,
well, okay, so there's different types of psychedelics do different things. DMT is what's considered a tryptamine, and a tryptamine is in the same classification as psilocybin and LSD. Tryptamines play off of our 5-HT2A receptors, which are our serotonin receptors. So if you're on a serotonin, like an SSRI or whatever, they recommend you don't take psychedelics because it's kind of working off of the same receptor system. So that's why you mentioned depression. That's why people have a lot of success treating these things because of that. Now, how do we know that it's not there? From my own experiences, I can tell you that different psychedelics classifications do different things. Tryptamines feel like you're still you're still, I don't even know how to explain this, but you're still aware of this realm, as opposed to like a tropane, which would be like datura or scopolamine or something like that, where it's known that there's centers of parts of your brain are interacting with things that aren't even there. Like you're seeing things that aren't there on tropanes, which is not the case usually with tryptamines, except DMT is a kind of a different story in that regard. But and then there's phenethylamines, which is like peyote, if you've heard of that. And so there's different classifications that do different things that work on different receptors. There's salvia, where salvia is pretty comparable to DMT in the sense that people blast off and some people don't come home.
I never heard of this stuff before. And I'm 60 years old. Damn.
But yeah, I'm a big nerd about all this stuff, so I'm constantly just reading books. And again, I think it's interesting. I follow all of the mainstream stuff. I follow, I'm on UFO Twitter, interacting with people regularly. So I'm aware of all the nuts and bolts arguments and the government research stuff and the data and the radar stuff. And I mean, in the documentary, we have Matthew Roberts, who worked for the Office of Naval Intelligence, and he was on the USS Roosevelt when the gimbal video was recorded, which was where that sighting happened. So we have a little bit of mixture of everything in the documentary. We have scientists that study DMT. We have, naval people. That one guy was on the USS Nimitz, another person was on the USS Roosevelt. We have, I mentioned Chris Wolford, who's just an experiencer and UFO researcher. We have other people that are, just experiencers. I wanted to make that connection and put my hypothesis out there. Not that it's specifically mine, but it's kind of a culmination of a lot of different things. But I also wanted to put new faces out there too. I'm sick of seeing the same documentaries with the same people, and in no disrespect to anybody, but it's just like, let's get some new faces, some new experiences, some new stories.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Most of the UFO ones, they have the same people.
Yeah.
It seems like they always have the same people on.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's people that love that, and there's a huge market for that. But for me, I'm not like one of these like hipster people that's like anti whatever everybody else is doing, but I just feel like there's so much more under the surface that doesn't ever get attention. That's what I'm trying to highlight.
Most definitely. Yeah. I think it's incredible that you put together this. Now, how long is the documentary?
So right now it's an hour and 48 minutes. We are going to release the director's cut on Vimeo and our Mind Escape Patreon. I think maybe this weekend, actually, like Saturday. And then we're going to continue to edit it down and try and get it to around an hour and 30 minutes and somehow either get it on a platform or figure out some other way for people to watch it. Maybe in a month or two. I'm looking
forward to that.
So where can they watch it right now?
Right now it's nowhere, but like I said, if they want to follow, just follow Mind Escape. I post regularly on Twitter and social media. We have all the social medias. They can just go to mindescapepodcast.com and all of our links are there. But I'm gonna post it on Saturday on Vimeo. So if anybody's interested in watching it, just stay tuned, and I'll put the link up there. And I think we'll probably charge like $6 or $7 for it.
Give me one of your episodes of your podcast, like something that really stuck out that did well.
I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years. I've pretty much talked to everybody coming into it that I wanted to talk to. We've talked to Randall Carlson a few times. I don't know if you're familiar with Randall Carlson's work, but he's all into the younger dry ice impact hypothesis and end of the last ice age and all that esoteric ancient knowledge stuff. We've had Rick Strassman on a few times, who I mentioned. He's in our documentary. Dr. Andrew Gallimore. We've had so many awesome people.
So what's your favorite topic that you like to talk about? I mean, we talk about the same things. I was just just talk about cryptics.
Yeah, I mean, I like everything, to be honest with you. Well, not everything. There's some things I won't do in the paranormal. It's nothing. It's not that I don't believe it. It's just I don't know anything about it. That would be like ghosts and Bigfoot. People get mad at me because I am somewhat skeptical of Bigfoot. I think for Bigfoot, I'm not against the idea. I think it's more possible that it's some epigenetic memory of us living alongside of Gigantopithecus, other large primates. And
You
then when
mean
you get scared,
like what, like a residual effect of some kind of
yeah. So like we know
something that
epigenetics is a
actually.
thing. So like in the past, we have our ancestors lived alongside these large primates. Some fear response could kick in, like some people get PTSD or whatever. That could be some sort of thing that's ingrained in our DNA that gets passed down generations. And then, there's a lot of Native American tribes and indigenous tribes that have the mythology of, the Sasquatch and all that. So, again, I'm not against any of that. I have talked to a couple people about that on our show, but mainly I'd say the main topics we stay on are philosophy, metaphysics, and metaphysics just means stuff that we can't quantify yet. So I look for the true fringe. I think that there's a lot of speculation out there when it comes to the UFO and these topics, but I try and look at it from like what, based on from like an epistemological lens. Like, how do we know what we know, and how can we quantify what we do know, and then what are the mechanisms that are behind this is how this is happening or what's happening. So I mean, at the end of the day, we talk about UFOs, UAP, we talk about ancient civilizations, megalithic structures, psychedelics, the universe, physics. I mean, we've had Avi Loeb, Sean Cahill, we've had so many different people on the UFO topic too. It's but yeah, I mean, it's whatever I'm feeling. We don't have like an agenda or anything. It's like whatever pops up kind of a thing.
Okay. Going to the UFO realm, like the Anunnakis, do you think they're coming back? Because there's a big thing out there on the web. People are talking about that they're coming back. And so they already know, the government already knows that they're coming back.
I don't buy that. I'm not against. Look, I'm going to be honest. I'm completely against all the ancient alien stuff, just because I've studied both the fringe and mainstream. Like I've studied the academic archaeological standpoint and the fringe standpoint on this stuff. I don't believe anything on Earth's been built by aliens. That doesn't mean that I don't feel like human beings haven't been influenced by something, or maybe a carrot dangled in front of us, if you will, maybe through these mystical and metaphysical experiences that would give them the inspiration to build something or something along those lines. I just don't think a physical thing's ever landed on this planet and built it, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that something would fly from a different dimension or across the galaxy and then build a crude megalithic structure.
Yeah.
Not that you know what I'm saying?
A lot of people think that we are the offspring of these ancient aliens.
Right. So, but to your question, I've read all the books on Sumerian archaeology and the myths and everything like that. And I do know about the Anunnaki and Enki and, even the Epic of Gilgamesh and all that stuff. I will say, I think that the Anunnaki were perceived metaphysical beings, but I don't. We're putting the lens of UFO and aliens on something that they were looking at it from a more spiritual standpoint, in my opinion. Like we're applying something that didn't even exist back then. I don't even think that people, even if it was still a UFO, like let's say we see a disc in the sky right now, I don't believe it would have been a disc to them back then. They would have a different perception of what that technology was based on the paradigm that they were living at the time, which would be gods, goddesses, things like that.
Okay.
We can believe that. I mean, I don't know about that. I kind of feel like they did exist on Earth. But like you said, everybody has their own.
I'm open-minded. I'm not. Yeah,
everybody has their own.
I'm not against anybody's thing. We've had a lot of people from Ancient Aliens on our show. That's the interesting thing to me, though, is that all the people that I've talked to that have been featured on Ancient Aliens don't actually believe aliens built anything.
They don't believe it.
Are you serious? Oh my
I mean,
God.
I've talked to Andrew Collins. I've talked to Dr. Gregory Little. I've talked to who else? Bruce Fenton. I mean, you can go through the list. I mean, we've talked to a number of people that have been on that show that don't actually believe that. And again, I'm open-minded. If somebody says, hey, we do have evidence and there's some sort of weird DNA attached to this, or there's some weird thing here, this is a very anomalous, this doesn't align with this culture during this time or something like that, I'm open, but I'm open-minded. I know what I don't know. So if I don't know something, I'm very open to changing. Even if I do know something, I'm open to changing my mind and having to hear what somebody else has to say about it. That's how you learn and grow.
Yeah. So since you think most of your well, not most of your shows, but your shows deal with philosophy, what about the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
What do you feel about that? And what are your views on that one?
I
like
think
it. It's my favorite topic.
well, you might not like my opinion.
Okay.
But, and I'm not trying to be this is just my honest takes on all this stuff. I think the Mandela effect is you'll go see a movie. Let's say, let's just say Home Alone. You'll go see Home Alone. It came out early 90s, something along the line. And you'll come home and you'll start repeating a phrase from that movie. Let's just say, you're a filthy animal, or something along those lines. Lo and behold, you rent the movie when it comes out and it says, "Ya filthy animal," as opposed to "you're a filthy animal. Now, is that the Mandela effect, or is that you misremembering in that moment because so many things, you're in a movie or things were happening? I think we give ourselves more credit. I think our memories are seriously flawed. I think that our perceptions are seriously flawed. I think that people believe there is a objective reality, but I think reality is a little bit more subjective than people believe it is. So I think it's more along the lines of, like Luke, I am your father, or whatever example you want to bring up. I think it has more to do with misremembering, or somebody promulgating fake memory, or somebody promulgating like a line, like somebody, you'll be in the schoolyard and somebody will just repeat the same line. Everybody laughs. Oh yeah, I saw that movie, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, they're not even saying the right line. I think it's more of that. But again,
yeah, it could be that too. Because I remember when I was a kid, my mother I'd have all these memories, and she goes, "That is a fake memory. That memory."
Yeah. And I think even when you bring in like the hypnosis and all that, I think it gets even more dicey too.
Okay,
I
well,
would like to ask you on that. What do you think of hypnosis?
I have never been able to successfully be hypnotized. I have OCD pretty bad. And actually that's what, got me reinterested in the whole psychedelic thing too. Because even though I had taken them before all that came, I'd come down with OCD, which is pretty debilitating mind-wise. I think that when I've gone to these hypnotherapy sessions, it's very calming, very suggestive, but I've never been able to get into that state that people claim, where they're so suggestible that, I know people that have quit smoking from hypnotherapy. I know people that have quit drinking. I know people that have had fears of things that have been erased through this therapy. So I have never experienced it, but I do know it exists. And I believe the people that I've talked to that have overcome those things.
There you go. What about psychics and mediums?
I think there's some real people that have done some real things. I think Rudolf Steiner at the turn of the century. I think Edgar Cayce had some ability. I think it's entirely possible. I don't think that there's a large amount of people that are out there, and it's always somebody communicating with a dead person, and they're like, "Oh, I see orange," and then the person will be like, "Oh, my dad loved orange juice." Well, like, who doesn't love orange juice? I that one, I'm not skeptical. Like, I'm not going on my way to like be like, "Oh, that's fake" or anything like that. But for me, I would need to see more evidence on the whole passed away connection thing.
Yeah.
But I do feel like on that topic, though, I do feel like you can meditate and tap into things. I don't know if you want to call it Akashic record. I don't know if you want to call it whatever, but I feel like you can get into these states via meditation, psychedelic experiences, altered states of consciousness, lucid dreaming, that kind of stuff. I feel like you can tap into something. And if you look at our top minds throughout our history, whether it be modern day or ancient, they've all tapped into something they felt was otherworldly. So I think that that's entirely possible, but I don't think that it's so clear that it pops, but I could be wrong. This is just my perception. Again, I'm not trying to offend anybody or suggest that that's fake. That's just my take based on what I've seen.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but I find that when people charge large amounts of money to do that, I
That's
think they're
bullshit.
fake.
Yeah.
No, they aren't
absolutely.
fake.
If God gave you, or the supreme being, whoever you want to worship, gave you this gift to make money on it like that, I mean,
Right.
they quit their jobs and they just charge people like $400, $450 an
Well,
hour.
and why wouldn't you use it to your advantage to make your
Yeah.
life, the
Well,
best,
they
whether it
always
be
say,
more,
"Oh, I can't use it on myself. It doesn't work like that."
yeah.
I don't know.
So again, that's just my thing. I think that we do have the ability to tap into things. I don't think it's as easy, and I think that there's a lot more work that goes into it, and it's more of a work on it and be able to achieve that mindset than it is an actual birth right or a trait or something like that.
Sounds pretty awesome.
Because I know some people. Go ahead, Jen.
No, go ahead.
No, I was talking with the psychics. You know, people are so in tune to getting a reading done that a very good so-called psychic, I say so-called, will come out. Now I'll get banned from, because I have a lot of friends who are psychic, but I'll get yelled at. But the person comes in, sits down, and they're so in tune of getting a reading that by the end of the reading, the psychic's going to say, "Oh, how you doing, George?" when your real name's Harry. Do you know what I mean? Because
Right.
they don't see, and I think that's a bunch of horse crap, to be honest with you. And I usually tell people whenever you go see a psychic, if they ask you a question right off the bat, get your money up, because there are people who can actually build off of that. So
I also think too, it's a lot of them are connected to like people that have recently lost loved ones or whatever. And I'm not saying they're preying on them, but like those people are super vulnerable during those times. So and maybe it's a good, I get torn on that too, because like having any kind of hope or might give them closure. It might make them feel better about the situation and allow them to move on and process it. I don't know from a psychological standpoint what would be better, but I just know that like the whole thing of,
there's a lot of people out there that do their daily lives just through psychics. They won't make a move until they talk to a psychic. And I don't know about that, dude, but I can understand about, helping, talking to a loved one and stuff like that. That would be great.
Right.
But
there's a history of that though, too, of what you said about the, back in the day, the mystic of the village or the shaman or whatever would tell the king or the pharaoh or whoever, hey, now's a good day to go to battle, or I predicted the outcome and you're going to win. Please go to war today. That kind of a thing. So that we do have that ingrained in us throughout time immemorial.
My cousin says, how would you explain these people that seem to just fall into a trance? Just curious.
I think it has to do with, they say like 30 or 40% of people have this thing where they're more suggestible or they can achieve these. I feel like you go into like a rapid eye movement state, like a REM cycle, like when you're sleeping. I feel like somehow it's like a hack into that somehow. I don't know that for sure. That's just based on what I've seen and people I've talked to, but I don't know. I don't know the mechanics of that.
Edgar Casey used to do that.
Yeah, he was known as the
most
sleeping
famous
prophet.
one.
Yeah, he would fall asleep on a book and then could tell you what was in that book, like he read it, even though he just fell asleep on top of it.
Oh, Brian, we know you're not making fun, brother. You're good. Everything's cool. How about our sponsor, Jen, before we continue?
I'd like to thank Carnation for sponsoring the second hour of Chasing Prophecy. Make sure you get some breakfast essentials or some Carnation instant breakfast, anything, some milk, make some pie for the holiday. Thank you, Carnation.
Thank you, Carnation.
Yeah. What do you the podcast, the official Roswell Symphonium podcast? Now, how did you do that? How did that come about?
So, okay, it's kind of a long story, but I'll make it short. So we started the Roswell UFO Symposium. I want to say it was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. So what happened was I met Shane, who's one of the co-hosts, and he's at Old Vet Symposium on Twitter. If you want to follow him, he's a good follow. But him and I started doing these things together called Twitter Spaces, and Twitter Spaces are like almost like a podcast on Twitter where you have a few people that are at the top that run it and that allow people to come up and talk or not, and then there's a bunch of people that just sit down in the lobby and listen. And we started doing those together. And he wanted to help with my podcast and stuff. And then he knew this other guy, Toby, and they were considering, they wanted to make a podcast, but they didn't really have any experience. And I had been doing what I've been doing for 5 years, and we just all hit it off. And Toby works at the Roswell Daily Record, and they were looking to put something out there as well. So yeah, it just kind of all came together. And we talk about UFOs on Mind Escape, but we only talk about them probably like 30% of the time, I would say. So for me, it's kind of interesting to get to talk to, we just had like James Fox and John Burroughs and some interesting people on. So it's always fascinating to get to talk to people that are strictly in that topic. And then for me, that's what I'm getting out of it, is talking to people that I haven't gotten to talk to, because our podcast is a little bit of a different format. So
what is your favorite topic? Your ultimate favorite that you like to talk a lot about?
It's gonna sound pretty nerdy, but like ancient psychedelic use, because I
You like drugs.
I don't do. I mean, aside from cannabis, I don't really use many anymore. But again, this will be in the documentary, but I believe that our idea of metaphysics and metaphysical things come from altered states of consciousness. Like, I don't know anybody. I've had an orb sighting, I guess, in day-to-day consciousness, but I don't, you look at a lot of the phenomena experiences, and aside from just seeing something in the sky, whether it's abduction or these crazy experiences, a lot of them happen in altered states of consciousness. So I think it's fascinating, because when you look at religions and you were talking about gods and goddesses, you can either believe that something existed back then that doesn't exist now, or we can look at it from the standpoint of, well, obviously something was going on that made these people think this. What was it? And for me, the tapping into this other realm, and psychedelics will do that. You don't have to. Psychedelics are this thing where it's the only thing that we can alter our consciousness and waking reality that will immediately change your reality. Meaning that, like, lucid dreaming or meditating, yeah, you can get into a state and go deep with that, but you're stationary, your eyes are closed, you're not doing anything. Psychedelics, you could take a psychoactive compound, and walk around and interact with the world around you. So that aspect of it has really fascinated me, that we can change our consciousness and interact with things around us. So again, going back to why I find it fascinating, because I believe that is at partially, whether it be the main source or part of the picture, of how we got this idea that there are other things out there other than just walking around in daylight and going to bed at night.
Yeah, I agree with you to a point. Like altered consciousness, like a lot of my psychic things or unusual occurrences happen like I'm in almost asleep, or I'm just waking from asleep. And I
Sure.
see some of these weird things that happen to me. And that's usually when it does. And I'm the only thing I have in me is probably melatonin. So,
Well, actually, yeah, I mean, melatonin, believe it or not, actually too, is so I mentioned Dr. Rick Strassman, the guy who wrote DMT, the Spirit Molecule. He actually studied melatonin first through the pineal gland, because he was fascinated with the pineal gland. And he looked at melatonin production and all that. And he was speculating that DMT came from there, and that was the reason why everybody talks about the third eye. And
yeah.
and now we know, actually, DMT is actually produced throughout. It's produced in your cerebral spinal fluid. It's produced in your brain, not just your pineal gland. It's produced in your liver, it's produced in your lungs. Why is it that we have the most potent psychoactive compound known to human beings, circulating through our body? It baffles me. So but yeah, so that's the melatonin connection there. But I think that I believe that there's something to that. You're mentioning waking up. I mean, we get when we lucid dream, an easy way to get into the lucid dream state. Most people get confused, but the lucid dream state is different than the vivid dream state. A vivid dream is just something you remember vividly. A lucid dream is becoming conscious within your dream, meaning
Yeah,
that
you're dreaming.
yeah, so you can look at like a way people recognize this is they'll look at their hand. A couple people, my buddy Lee Adams told me about this, or my buddy Ian J did. Look at your hand, and if you look at your hand and you recognize you're looking at your hand in your dream, then you are conscious in your dream. You'll hear people talk about how they can manifest things in their dreams and they're in control of their dreams. You're probably, if that's the case, you're probably lucid dreaming and maybe just not even know.
There was an episode of Evil. I don't know if you ever heard that show.
The worst show in
CBS.
America.
Well, there's a scene where she is being harassed by this demonic presence, and she wanted to wake herself up. And someone told her, I don't know if it was a shrink that told her that if you write in your dream, like on a ceiling, you can tell if you're not dreaming if you could read it.
Right.
Now, I wasn't sure which way it was. Is it tell if you can read it that you're not, it's not real, or it is real? I can't remember which one it was. Something that your brain can't do while you're sleeping.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. I would think actually trying to read something, if you can read it, you're probably conscious in your dream. And if you can't read it, but maybe I'm getting that wrong, but that would make sense to me.
Yeah, it just sounded really interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I see you guys. You were talking about the Dogon in the chat, huh?
Who was that? That must have been Joe.
We actually have Laird Scranton. Laird Scranton's in our documentary, actually, and he's probably one of the main researchers of the Dogon and their metaphysics and everything too. So actually, he talks a little bit about the Dogon in our documentary.
Can you tell me what the Dogon is? I've never heard of it.
The Dogon is a tribe from Africa that somehow they knew that Sirius was a binary star system and you cannot see it with the naked eye. So, there's speculation, well, how would they know something like that? Right.
Yeah.
And the skeptics would say, oh, well, these French, anthropologists came through in the 1800s and, blah, 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 blah. But in reality, these traditions go back pretty far. So,
yes.
Yeah, we've had Laird Scranton on Mind Escape probably like 5 or 6 times. He's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the Dogon tribe and the symbolism and everything.
Come on in, Joe.
Yeah,
you can come in.
I couldn't find myself. I want to sit down there. No, Dogon is great. If there's any proof that we may have ever been visited, they would be it. I mean, they knew the weight and mass of Sirius A. That's impossible. They knew it has their calendar is based on its 55.5 year orbit. That's what their calendar is based on. Some of these, I mean, even in astronomers back then didn't know. It was only a radio telescope can see it. So we didn't even know it existed until, I forget when it was now, but it was the first radio telescope that found it. They also told us about a Sirius B and Sirius C, which we just recently found. Just recently.
Right.
There's just things about, I mean, maybe somebody there had some really good eyesight. I don't know how to explain
I doubt that.
It's one of those things. It's a mystery that's going to always be there. There's some mysteries on Earth. We could say that it could have been maybe somebody walked across somewhere. Maybe someone had a vision. I don't want to just put it on aliens because it's, but it's really good evidence. I mean, what it is for.
All of Laird Scranton's research and work more has to do with like metaphysics and ancient cosmology and the idea that there are universes are birthed in pairs. So we have the material realm and the immaterial realm. And when these realms, it's almost like they come close, converge. And when they're the closest together is when we get these golden ages and enlightenment periods and periods where humans get more knowledge from they're more spiritual, they're more in tune with all these things. So that's kind of what all of his research is predicated on.
Yeah, but it's always been one of my favorite subjects. Dogon's just a great subject.
For sure.
Also, the weirdness, the fact that the South America and Central America is 98% O still bothers me to this day. We had done a hemological study on some other research we were doing for another project. And when they finished with the maps, the hematologists finished with the maps, Central America and South America, the only two places in the world that has this, are 98% O. No one can explain it. No one knows why. And no one to this day can still explain Rh negative. These are things that, Mother Nature wouldn't have created. Rh, there's no way Mother Nature created Rh negative for the simple fact is it kills babies. Babies are born still. So there's no way it would have created it. And unfortunately, or fortunately for us, it's the purest form of blood known for man and where all of our hematological research comes from. And it's the universal donor on top. It's just something that this is another thing. It just popped on the scene about 45,000 years ago. And no scientist today can tell us why.
It's the universal donor, and it kills babies.
Yeah, so
That's
until
crazy.
they invented what they call the antigenogen G gene, you used to have to get before you got married, you would have to get a license. You have to go down and get tested because if you were negative and your partner was positive, you couldn't have a baby. Odds are the baby would be born still. So this went on for 45,000 years. So it wasn't really helping our society. It just was killing babies. Nobody could figure out why. And then all of a sudden, I forget, was it the 70s, 80s, they figured it out. But why? No scientist can tell you why Mother Nature would have created this, where this came from, how it got to be here, and how much it's changed our lives because of the things that it gives us in science. And it's all hard science. I mean, universal donor is hard science. Purest form of blood is known to man is hard science. These are things that have helped us in ways, well, without it, we'd be 200 or 300 years back in where our medical society is today. So it's strange. Don't know what it means. Does it mean someone from another side flipped it over to us? I don't know. Did an alien give it to us? I don't know. Did for some reason Mother Nature say the planet's getting overcrowded?
Maybe
we could all be aliens too. I mean, that's the thing.
Well, I would bet we are in some fashion or another.
I think panspermia is, and you could even take out directed panspermia, like it was purposefully, and you could just throw just regular panspermia out there, and there's different versions. There's cosmic dust version, there's impact version, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, we know there's chondritic meteorites that contain the compounds and building blocks of life. So
we recovered a few of them there.
Yeah. So and actually some of those meteorites some of those meteorites go for a lot of money. They pay big money if you find one of those meteorites. But so I think it's quite possible that we're all aliens. We're all just hitched a ride on something else, and we evolved here. I think that's quite possible.
Well, look at it like that. If God created us, He created us and put us here. We weren't here. He put us here. If panspermia did it, then we came from the building blocks of life, and the alien did it. They still put us here. So any way it goes, any scenario you want to pick, we're an alien to this planet. So shouldn't we be nicer to Mother Nature before we get evicted? Anyway, I'm out here. I love you. You're great.
Be nice to Mother Nature.
Oh, definitely. Take care of it.
Really interesting stuff, I have to say.
I'm really glad you came on because I'm really enjoying this. That's why I'm quiet tonight.
Oh no, I appreciate you having me on. I mean, I'm always down to talk about this kind of stuff. I'm just a big nerd. I read a lot. I research a lot. So anytime I can talk about this kind of stuff, I'm very happy.
What was your last book that you read that you found interesting? You want to share? Because I'm looking for a read.
Well, let's see here. Well, the last book I read, period, was like fully completed was Chaos.
Chaos.
Yeah, which is by this guy Tom O'Neill, and it's about the Manson murders, the CIA, and MK Ultra, and all the tests that we. And the book's phenomenal. This guy spent 20 years writing this book, and uncovered stuff about MK Ultra and the fact that they were experimenting with LSD on people without their knowledge, and Charles Manson was most likely part of one of these programs as well. So even the Manson murders, which we all feel like we've heard about and know a lot about, there's a whole other layers, and a lot of these people knew each other, and there was previous connections. So it wasn't this like random thing that happened. It's a really interesting book. I highly recommend it.
Well, yeah, because I was watching a documentary on it, and Charles Manson was involved with all those. He wanted to be a superstar, and he was involved with all the people in the entertainment field. I mean, that could have been a connection even with Sharon Tate. You don't know if there was some kind of
right. Well, there is a connection there. The guy that owned the house before Sharon Tate was it Doris Day's son, one of some famous singer's son, and he owned a record company, and he had turned Charles Manson down, and Charles Manson did not like that. So
he was mad.
they think that there was some sort of retribution that happened, but it was weird because like, why wouldn't he try and go after that guy and not just these random people living in that house? You know,
maybe he didn't know. Maybe he thought they still lived there. That could be it too. But even the MK Ultra could be seen as something with the Susan. What's her name? The girls that were
oh yeah, no,
I don't. The women with the women, you know who I'm talking about. I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Their
I don't
names.
remember their names.
There was a Susan. There was a goofy name.
I know
oh
what you're
my
talking
God,
about.
you know who I'm talking about? The girls with the crosses on their forehead. His cult. Now that's could have been a form of MK Ultra too, because they were like so.
Well,
like,
that's what you have to just read this. I don't want to ruin it, but that all plays into this. The priming, people using psychedelics. Like, look, I think psychedelics have a huge upside and a tremendous possibility of helping us all heal as a society. And I think that you look at the mental health issues out there, and I think that having that option is going to be awesome pretty soon. I mean, we all see that the law is changing, but in terms of their non-specific amplifiers, in the way that if you feed, it's like your ego. If you feed it, can I swear?
Yeah.
If you feed it shit, you're going to get shit out. So if you're a terrible person, and you take psychedelics, they're not just going to make you a better person. But if you're already an introspective person, you want to become a better person or better yourself, there's a tremendous benefit there. However, they are non-specific amplifiers. So what they were doing is these people that were working at the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, that were part of MK Ultra, were testing LSD on people and giving people LSD. And also one thing that they did was the study with rats, where they realized if they give rats LSD first and then speed, they become very aggressive. And that's what was actually happening in the hippie scene there. A lot of hippies started off with peace, love, LSD,
Susan
and then it turned into
and
then it turned into speed freaks, robbing people, shooting places up, so that was actually that went from like a rat experiment into society. So I don't know if that was intentional or what, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening.
It was Susan Atkins, Leslie Van what was it name? Houghton or something, one of the girls. Yeah, to me that was a form of MK when he made them kill 7 people. I mean, one man.
Right. And a lot of these kids were from broken homes and had all sorts of issues. Yeah, Susan Atkins, Tex Watson was the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the one. Okay, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. Who else? Squeaky Fromm, I think that's who you were talking about.
Yeah, Squeaky, that's it. It was one weird name.
Yeah.
Leslie
Van Houten.
Yeah.
So the one girl, I mean, so they weren't all like, one of the women was very intelligent. There was no reason for her to even be, but a lot of the other people were just kind of like, hitchhikers or hitchhiking across the country.
Drifters.
Yeah. Whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. I find all that stuff interesting. Yeah, but as far as books, I read everything. I read, I love what Inner Traditions. I don't know if you're familiar with Inner Traditions. I love all the stuff they publish. You should check them out if you don't already.
What's
Inner
it called?
Traditions. Inner Traditions publication. They probably give you a lot of people to have on your show too that are into this kind of stuff and write books on these topics. But let's see here. What else? Yeah, there's just tons of stuff. I mean, like I said, I read a little bit of everything. I read Reality Switch Technologies recently, which I mentioned Dr. Andrew Gallimore, which that one's about, again, these psychedelic mechanisms and why do we even have them in our body? What do they do? That kind of a thing. So.
like all that scientific stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me to read. I fall asleep as soon as I start reading. That's why I listen to audiobooks.
Yeah. Do you
When
ever
I'm
do
at the
Audible? I love
Yeah,
Audible.
I have tons of book on Audible, and I do that when I'm at the gym. Put it in, listen while I'm at working
Yeah.
out. Yeah, I find that to be fun.
But I
Absolutely.
was watching the show. We get this TV show. It talks about rock musicians and the government. I don't know the name of the band, but Jerry Garcia. What was the
Yeah.
name of the
Grateful
band?
Dead.
The Grateful Dead. Well, back in the '60s, all you know how they had all those riots and all those protests and stuff like that. That the government came out and was slipping them LSD and stuff, trying to control them for not freaking out over the Vietnam War. I saw a
Yeah,
documentary
I
on
don't know. I
that.
mean, I'm a huge Deadhead, to be honest with you. I've read pretty much everything there is to read on the Grateful Dead. I don't buy into the fact that the Grateful Dead were part of MK Ultra. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Owsley, who's known as the Bear, who was um part of the Grateful Dead's like entourage. He was their sound guy, and his uncle or somebody was like a senator at the time. He was the one producing all the acid for like everybody, and it was pure, and it was so like if there was some connection there, it would have been through him, but not the actual band. They were very anti um, war, and what not just from that, like they were very aware of all that stuff in a different way. But yeah, the whole movement, obviously, I could see maybe as a whole, peace, love, and trying to, but I don't know. I don't know why you would want to create that counterculture for yourself to have to then come in and
Wouldn't it be
disable.
because of control? Just to control
Yeah, but
people?
it's not really controlling. I mean, they kind of did the opposite. If you look at it, like, like you said, there's peace movements and riots and sit-ins and rebellion and all that stuff. So maybe if they wanted to put, I could see if they wanted to push the youth into that direction. There is another narrative, and this is a little bit more esoteric, but there was this idea that they were trying to create, like LSD was part of this. It wasn't an accident like it's made out to be. Like they were trying to create some sort of peace drug or peace molecule or something to create peace. So this idea that the government always wants war, I think that maybe, there's your war hawks and your military industrial complex, but I also believe that there's probably some element of people in control that don't want that upheaval or unrest too. So in terms of, I don't ever get into conspiracies. That's one thing I don't talk about just because it doesn't interest me. I'm only interested in things that I can know. What can I touch? What can I experience? That kind of a thing. So I never delve into the pure speculation. I know it's fun. I'm not against it. I'm all about everybody talking about whatever they want. But at the end of the day, I don't delve into that realm of things. Even within the UFO stuff, it's fun to talk about like Bob Lazar and special access programs and
I
all that
love
kind of
Bob
stuff.
Lazar.
But what can we actually know about that other than what he's said himself? Or you know what I'm saying? Like there's no way of actually knowing for sure
Yeah,
unless
unless
some
it
whistleblower comes out and
well,
says I
there was
back him up or
there was an episode of it was on Art Bell on Coast to Coast, and he was a whistleblower, and he got on the phone. He was talking about the underground labs, and they were
yeah.
after him. It was a really good
Oh,
episode.
I remember. I know what
Do
you're
you know
talking
which
about.
one I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
about?
The aliens were shooting at him
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah. I
then
know what
all
you're
of a
talking
sudden his phone went dead. And then,
about.
okay,
Yeah.
what happened to him?
So, I mean, is it possible? I think it's possible. I think it's with the Bob Lazar thing. I think for me, based on watching the Jeremy Corbell documentary, watching his Joe Rogan appearance,
Mhm.
the Art Bell stuff, and all the previous things, I think that he's obviously a smart guy.
Mhm.
And I think it's entirely possible that he worked at those places, but that maybe he was either led to believe the things that he's saying that maybe they're true or not true, or they intentionally wanted him to believe those things for whatever reason, maybe to disseminate that to the public, to throw them
Mhm.
off of something else that they're doing or that they have or whatever. So I think that that's more likely, but I'm always open-minded. If some more stuff comes out or whatever that says otherwise, I'm all about it. Again, that's more of Shane, my co-host Shane and Toby. That's more of their dealings. I'm more of the philosopher. They're the
You're the
special
you're the
access.
dreamer, the philosopher.
Yeah, I'm the idealist.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're more in the realms of like, the crash retrieval programs
Mhm.
and all that kind of stuff. I'm not against it. I like listening to it. It's just not what I actually research.
It's quite interesting, though. But I want to thank you for joining us tonight. It was great to have you on the
Oh, thank
show.
you. I
You're more than
appreciate
Yes,
welcome to come back,
please
you and
come
your
back.
partner.
Like I said, I'm all down to talk anytime. So anytime you guys want to have me on, I'm down for it. And I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about too. Like I said, I maybe don't have the most favorable or sexy opinions on these things, but
It's okay.
I'm going to tell you the truth based on the way I know it. So
Well, that's what we want to
Well,
hear.
that's what we want, buddy. Thank you,
And
Michael. I learned
congratulations again on the
Yes.
award.
thank you, Sean. Thank you, Jenny. I appreciate it. Nice meeting you too.
Nice meeting you
guys.
too. We'll talk to you later. That was
Oh,
fun.
wow. That was great. I'm all excited.
Yeah, but I'm kind of mad. Like, when is Tom gonna? I can't believe he didn't come on again, and that's really annoying. I know he's been
Well,
busy with the big show, and I know it just wrapped up a couple days ago. Well, actually, the 12th. So, but
mhm.
maybe next time we can bring him on. Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, the way I look at life is if he's supposed to be on our show, he will be here. I mean, I can't, you know, sure, it's upsetting, but you know what?
It's okay. I don't care.
Right.
We'll move
What can you
on.
do to? Yeah. But we will. I mean, I'm really looking forward to hearing his story. And if it ain't until June he gets on, awesome. You know what I mean? So what? It's all good. That's that vitamin D talking.
Must be. Must be vitamin D. Must
Uh,
be. Well, I got a few minutes left. It's
so
next
what are you
week.
doing for St. Patrick's Day?
Me.
Yeah, the
I'm
real
gonna wear.
St. Patrick's Day.
I'm gonna wear red
Why?
because I'm not Irish.
Oh, okay.
Are you mad, Sean? Are you mad?
Oh God, no, I ain't mad at all.
What are you
You
doing?
know what's crazy? I'm going to share this with you.
Hmm.
We used to go Kaylee dancing, and I
I
didn't
can't see
dance, but
that.
my son and my mom they did it. And so every St. Patrick's Day they would have a big Kaylee dance down in
Well,
Pittsburgh.
with a name like Sean Kelly, you better
Oh,
be doing it.
no, I couldn't do the moves. But we would go to these dances, and everybody would be in their green and white, kiss me, I'm Irish, the whole 9 yards. I mean, all out. And here I
Well, that's
am
fun.
just wearing a regular nice shirt with black pants and a little shamrock on my side. And I was like, I got to find out. So this one dance we had, I saw. I mean, these people were decked out to the T in green. And I walked over and I said, "Hi, my name's Sean Kelly. You know, welcome to the dance." And they said, "Hi, we're Mr. and Mrs. Dan Kwasneski." And I was like, "Oh wow." So, like my cousin says, everyone is Irish on St. Patrick's Day. You know what? God bless them.
Hmm.
But the real Irish, like for me, and I can only talk about myself, right? I don't have to wear green on St. Patty's Day because I know I'm Irish. What are you laughing about? What you laughing about, girl?
Nothing.
Yeah, you are. You're laughing.
Anthony, what are you talking about? What's 2 more days and you'll be going on a journey? What kind of journey are you going
Oh,
on?
okay. All right. Are you going into the forest, Tony? Anthony, I'm sorry. Are you
Forest.
going into the forest?
What are you doing into the forest?
Oh my God, it's a
Are you a
crazy thing.
truant?
He's going into the forest.
What are you
We're gonna
doing in the
have to.
forest?
Oh, it's a story. We got to have Anthony on our show.
Are you
He'll
going into
talk about
you
it.
looking for Bigfoots? Are you looking for
No, no,
missing
no,
411? Are you looking for aliens in the
no.
forest,
It's a
deep into
whole
the
new
forest?
story. You go into this forest, and correct
Look
me
for
if I'm wrong,
mushrooms.
Anthony. You go to another realm.
Oh,
There's
Anthony, you're going to a different realm. Mushrooms. You're gonna be eating some mushrooms.
No, he's
It's
not
like,
eating
are you
mushrooms.
going to be doing psychedelics in the mushrooms?
No, he's not doing psychedelics either. Trust me.
Mm.
This is an interesting story. What did he say? Ha ha ha! He's laughing at you. But no,
Oh, the only time I think about going into the forest, I'm looking for like trees and fairies and little
we have to have him on. He was on my show, and when he talked about the
mushrooms.
forest,
Mushrooms, exactly, Brian. Mushrooms. Well, do you remember the movie The Beguiled with Clint Eastwood? He ate the poison mushrooms. These women from the
yeah,
Civil War
hmm
took care of him and they gave him mushrooms.
yeah,
Very careful with those mushrooms. You don't know what
it's
you're
been a
eating.
while for mushroom.
Great show tonight as
Great.
usual.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sebastian.
Sebastian. We can
Thank you very
always,
much.
yeah, it was a good show considering we weren't going to do it because our guests kept on canceling on us.
But I'll see. We ended up with a good show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it was like it had to happen. Everything has to happen for a reason. There is no coincidences.
Okay.
See,
Is that Art Bell? Is that his? I love Art. My son watches old Art Bells, and my granddaughter, she hears that noise. His, the Art Bell. Doot, doot,
yeah.
doot, 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 doot. She's like, oh, no, she's gonna be a little conspiracy alien hunter.
Why not?
Yeah,
She
I
got a
like the
good
old.
grandma.
I like the old. Thank you, Brian. I like the old Art Bell. Um, he was the best. No one can. I can't stand that. Sorry, I'm not a fan of the new one with Georgie.
Why do they? I mean, with us growing up listening to Art Bell and all kinds of the old, they just changed. They trying to get with the 21st century so people, because that's what's it.
I don't know, but deep into the heart of yeah,
I
the-
don't know.
I like it.
So you really wearing red on Friday?
Yeah,
You wear shamrock?
my dad told us to do that when I was a kid. Wear red.
Oh
It's an
wow!
insult to the Irish.
I thought it was an insult when you wear red to a funeral.
Oh, I don't know. I never wore red to a funeral.
But
I'm
that's
a
what I heard.
traditional black person. I wear black to funerals, even if it's not close to me. I think it's out of respect. You're not supposed to wear bright colors.
Unless you don't like the person, then you wear the red.
Maybe. I don't know, but I do. I went to one St. Patrick's Day fun. I went out. There was a place called Hula Hands in Monroeville Mall in Pennsylvania. And I remember dancing. They were all drunk. Oh, a
Hmm.
bunch of drunks
My
having
family
fun.
goes down.
Everybody was drunk on
Pretty
everybody was
much.
Irish on St. Patrick's Day. You're
Yes.
right.
We go down to the Harp and Fiddle down in the strip district. That is crazy. The Harp and Fiddle. You want a good
Yeah.
Irish pub to go to the Harp and Fiddle down in Pittsburgh. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening down there.
Well, I try not to go out. I'm pretty much a recluse. I don't go out very much.
Well, we're just going to have to bring
I
the
have
Harp
my
and Fiddle to your
bunker.
house.
I have my bunker and I have my storage and my water purification and I have all my food and my greens, my microgreens, and I'm all ready for that last, what is it, the 3 day of darkness? 12 days of darkness.
Did you get like MREs, where you can
No,
just add water?
I had all that and they all expired. I even had peanut butter that expired.
My God, how long did you have them? They're good for
That
a good 20 years,
well,
aren't
yeah, they were pretty old. They're expired.
they? Wow.
My MRA, is it MREs or
Yeah,
MRAs? I forget.
MRE.
They expired 2020. I had
And when
them
did you buy them?
probably 2000.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
I bought them for the millennium.
Did you?
Yeah, I even
Did,
taped up our windows with duct tape.
oh my God, girl. And what were your neighbors saying?
I just actually took the duct tape down.
Really? Oh my God.
In my basement. Yeah, we were waiting for that. Waiting for
Was
that
it the
big old.
Y2K or something like that?
Yeah,
Or no?
yeah.
Oh my God.
They expired 20 years. Yeah, I had my peanut butter for 20 years. It expired. I
Oh
had
wow.
all kind of stuff. I had toilet paper. I had everything ready. I had a kit. I had a backpack. You see on the Last of Us, you know, one with these aliens and what do you call them? Those fungus people.
I never watched it.
It's a good show. It was based off of a video game. It's on I think it's on HBO. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a really good show. If you get a chance, watch it. I think it
will.
was the final. If you can watch the old episode, well, yesterday was no Sunday was the finale.
What's
was
the
a
name of
very-
the show again? I'll write it
The
down.
Last of Us.
The Last of Us. Okay.
It's better than The Walking Dead. I don't know if you ever watched The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I have.
It's better
It's
than The
better
Walking
than
Dead.
The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to check it out.
Yeah, my kids were all into video games. Oh, let me tell you a story about before we go because we're going to get off here soon. Last year, 2 years ago, I was trying to be the grandma. I wasn't a grandma yet, but I was doing. I was playing video games on Twitch. It was so stupid.
Okay.
It was hysterical. People were making fun of because I don't know how to play video games, but I did it just for shits and giggles, and they were laughing. I was starting to get a following. People watching this stupid woman who doesn't know how to play video games. It was funny. It was hysterical because I didn't know what I was doing. I might take out the old computer again and play the video games.
There you go.
Hey, I was starting to get a following on Twitch.
Good. We got one coming here.
What?
We got one coming in.
What are you talking? What's coming in?
Our show. We got a following. Oh yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, well, Joe, get us out of here. I know it's a little early. We started late, but get us out of here.